Lee Beck. That's some serious politics right there. I don't know what I'm going to do after that. How about some romance? Yeah. Let's see. Well, reading and writing and arithmetic didn't get through to me. That ain't because I'm square thick. I learned my ABCs. I graduated from grammar school, moved one grade above. But I began to be a snook at books, but made straight A's in love. The teacher would say, learn your algebra, but I bring home C's and D's. How could I make the grade when there's a swinging maid on the left and on the right and in the back and the front of me? All my grades are low, on my card I know they ought to give me one above. If they gave me a mark for learning in the dark, I'd have straight A's in love. In my senior year, with graduation near, I did my homework every night. And when my mama said I ought to go to bed, I turned out all the lights. My sweetie pie was waiting right outside. She was cooing like a dove. So I did my best but failed semester test, but made straight A's in love. A teacher would say, learn your algebra, bring home C's and D's. How could I make that grade when there's a swinging maid on the left and on the right and in the back and the front of me? Oh, my grades are low, on my card I know they ought to give me one above. If they gave me a mark for learning in the dark, I'd have straight A's in love. Thank you so much. Well, that one worked. Romance continues. Big-legged woman, keep your dresses down. Big-legged woman, keep your dresses down. 'Cause you got something, baby, makes me wanna lay down. The way she rolls her belly, it's like some biscuit dough. Little girl lay down so easy, got me coming back for more. Big-legged woman, keep your dresses down. You got something, baby, that makes Edward wanna lay down. Excuse me now. want to tell you something. What I'm talking about, I bet my bottom dollar there ain't a sweeter cherry in this house. Big-legged woman, keep your dress down. 'Cause when I start drilling on you, baby, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose your nightgown. Big-legged woman. Thank you so much, everybody.
That was Eddie Reed. All right. Very nice, Eddie. Thank you. It's great to have you here. All right. Now we're going to move right along. We'll bring up Anna Broome. Anna does a regular monthly show here, too. What's the
It's a regular Thursday show. It kind of jumps around according to.
starts next, or it'll be next.
Well,
What?
no, we had one. I already had one here at Art Share. It used to be at Angel City, and I relocated to Art Share because.
Come back here.
I don't
Be
really
in the
like.
yeah, we're on LA Live.
Oh, okay. I relocated from Angel City, and the main reason is that they were not accommodating artists. They were not accommodating the sound of musicians and poets. So Artshare gave me a proposition, and so did Tim Keating and La Raba. And they said, why don't you help out Artshare and bring the Anna Broome Room here, and we'll give you a grant. And I said, okay. I want to say thank you to all the artists who have participated in the Broome Room, and all the artists who participate with Lee Beck, because all of this is important. The art district is changing, and we need to be a part of Artshare and to celebrate the beautiful glory of the arts that are in this district. Now, you may wonder why I'm holding my shoes. I'll tell you. I'm Tennessean, and I'm not scared of pavement or wood or mountains. And I am tired of how much these shoes hurt. But wait, I will apply them for you. Eddie Reed, when you're not complimentary, I don't know what you are. I brought a few poems for you. Thank you. First, I have to say something, if that's okay. A dear friend of the district hung himself Tuesday morning, right on in front of the Shepherd Ferry. And he was a beautiful man. I knew him for many years, and I never saw him cruel, and I never saw him inappropriate. And I want to say something to you all, that takes strength, grace, glory, and beauty to be that strong, to never criticize or harm another person. And he was glorious. And I am saddened mostly by the fact that I didn't know he suffered, and that I could have been more to him. That we can all be more to each other, and to take the information that we have learned from his display of pain and realize that this is a hard world and this is a hard life. And we're all important and beautiful, glorious and graceful as he was. And I look out here and I see so many people I care so much about. I love you all, and I want to say that and then read my poems. Thank you. Especially my cousin Brad, by the way. We fight sometimes like brothers and sisters, but I love him very much. And anyway, here we go. A bronze sleep. I'm afraid of our brain. How it lacks free will when it has no sugars to spare, or whenever we want to build anything. How it melts into thin air when we imagine something different. You something swimming in every tree, me in a cell with a mattress. If we were to vanish tomorrow, our brain might bump into something suitable to climb, or make low clicking noises behind a curtain. So there is nothing to discuss. We're floating in a cabin getting totally hammered. Still being taught to ignore shadows. It's out. So very simply, in place of our brain, swarming birds, 6 tractors, a left hand, might better let love wrap its curling tip around a bronze sleep, just before we decide to be more than a backdrop of purples. Edgar, is that your fiance? Can I meet her, please? I've never met her. Sorry. I have another poem. A whole sermon by hunger for land beating against its wings about them anymore, to go out into the acres for first light, weak and unfed. The earth completely arising, can't resist, growls over them and all the things that are lost. Breaks them up, their possessions, innocence. Its swelling roots are guns against their heads for what they have stolen. The willow tree, under it, a pilgrim crippled on purpose, stunned and uncomfortable, a refusal to turn left, shift, read the almanac. To go that far into shade lately fallen, move away from the whole world and meet the road. Someday, the praying will stop. And the heat in the head someday will bury itself. So far, death is an examination, and the cause is a certificate signed. Break out the trees, uncarpet the earth. Down at the ground, trunks grow heavy and shift their weight. Leap into the air and break free all night. And another wall will fall. Thank you.
Anna Broome. Thank you, Anna. Glad to have you here. Thank you. Really nice having all of you here. All right, we're moving right along. Everybody having a good time so far? Yeah! Aha! All right, now I'm going to bring up a fellow that I like to have on almost all my shows. He's an old buddy of mine. We got acquainted a few years ago, and we've just done a lot of hanging out together because we're both a couple old guys who love to keep doing what we've been doing for a long time. And so it gives me great pleasure to present Peter Coca.
Charlie, Walsh, played the sax, the tenor sax, with all those great jazz giants. Coltrane, Parker, yeah, he flew with the bird, and Monk, many moons with Thelonious Monk. Charlie loved the way Monk came down on those keys, man. He couldn't drag himself away from that sound. While all those other great horn blowers like Cannonball, when he left Miles to make his own name heard out there, well, Charlie stayed with Monk. Like I said, he just could not drag himself away from that sound of Monk. Now, I wasn't really into jazz when I was hanging out with Rouse back there in the late 60s, 70s. I was into Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, man. And I had my own lovely little Rita. And we were into Dylan and Melanie. Melanie, Melanie, Melanie. Look what they did to our song, Melanie. I was around 16 years old when I first saw Monk and Rouse down there at the Newport Jazz Festival. I picked up my pal Shundy in this old beat-up black MG I was sporting at the time with a gold racing stripe stenciled down the back and no hood. That engine was open to anything. So I kept my fingers crossed for a couple of 100 miles praying that it wouldn't rain. And when we pulled into Newport, the sun was there and it was hot. And I got lucky again, found me a parking spot right next to that old stadium. Me and Shundy got our tickets in nothing flat, along with a couple of ice-cold beers poured into plastic cups. Now, there was these two mean-looking cops standing next to the ticket takers. And when me and Shundy handed our tickets to the ticket taker, those cops knocked the beers out of our hand with their big, fat wooden clubs. No beer allowed inside, they said. They just couldn't have told us, right? No, they were mad. They were pissed off about the riots that took place the day before. You see, the streets were on fire. The natives were restless and wanted to play. They were on fire. So the cops brought out all their hoses and watered everyone down. They didn't expect anything like that to happen in their quiet little seaport town. Me and Shundy caught it on the tube and decided that we had to be there. Now, like I said, that sun was beating down heavy on that old stadium as Monk danced along the Ivy Keys, wearing this Chinese coolie hat on his head, looking as weird as that music he was playing. And after a few minutes, Rouse came back in. He wrapped that sweetness, that pinkness of his inner lips around that old black reef of his, and he blew into that golden horn like Sufis, man, dancing into Narvina at one with the all. Yeah, they were there, man. They were really, really there. Me and Shundy fell asleep on the beach that night with thousands upon thousands of other teenagers under the stars, zillions of them. It was a most memorable weekend. Now, many, many, many moons had gone up, come back down. I'd been in and out of the Army, out to California, back to New York, and back again. And I'm sitting in this little theater in Greenwich Village, smiling at this black dude sitting behind me, nodding. It was Rouse. He was into acting back then, too. And we worked on lots and lots of things together. I especially liked Blood Knock. We played brothers, black brothers. But one passed as white. And that's the brother I played. The one that passed as white. I washed Charlie's feet with the awareness of a Zen monk, and we drank blackberry brandy during rehearsals and got silly. One day, I asked Charlie to give me a lesson on the flute. I wanted to learn how to play the flute. I mean, what hippie didn't? Rouse also played the flute and the clarinet. And he hands me this empty bottle and says, "Blow into this bottle, darling. Make it whistle." We were high on the weed, right? And when I blew into that bottle, it did whistle. And Charlie smiled. "You're a natural, darling. You're a natural." Now, that weed we were smoking was some of the best weed I ever had. Charlie called it wand, the magic of the wand. And all you need is one hit, man, and you were there. It was the end on one hit. Now, as I was making that bottle whistle, I swear to you, under everything that's holy, I swear to you that I saw this black cat come flying down past Charlie's window. I said, Charlie, I just saw a cat come flying down past your window." And And Charlie smiled. Now, Monk was living right above Charlie, right on top of him. And his good friend, the Baroness, had lots and lots of cats. I mean, she must have loved cats because she had a lot of them. Her daughter told me so. She said that her mother had lots and lots of cats, Peter. And there's this weird look on her face when she told me so, too. Lots and lots of cats, Peter. I forget what her name was. But she was a real charming gal. Always carried a guitar. And Charlie played the sax, and I wanted to play the flute. And the three of us were hanging out down there in the village, man, and life was good. It was a good time to be in love, and I certainly was. Now, Charlie finally left Monk after 10 years. Monk never played again after Charlie left him. And Charlie put together a group. Was rehearsing over at Cannonball Adderley's studio, and he invited me for a listen. And I especially liked Callow, who played the electric cello and was always fasting. A couple of days later, me and Rouse are down in this little park in the village having a meatball sandwich from the deli across the way. And Charlie asked me if I wanted to manage his group. He knew I was broke. My girlfriend just left me, and he wanted to put some money in my pocket. Nothing to it, darling, said Charlie, son. Nothing to it, man. All the gigs are already planned, man, and we could hang out, travel the world, man. We could hang out together. And he took me down to the village Vanguard, told Max that I was going to be his new manager. But walking out of there, man, I knew in my heart I was not no manager. I'm an actor. I said, Charlie, I'm sorry, Charlie, but I can't be a manager. I'm an actor. And Charlie said, well, darling, wish me luck. I said, Charlie, the first black cat that walks across my path, Charlie, I'll say a little prayer for you and your new group's success. Charlie smiled. We were walking through Chinatown one beautiful Sunday afternoon, just up ahead of our girlfriends, walking off some Chinese food. When this black cat walked across our path, and I spit 3 times. I used to always spit 3 times. Whenever a black cat walked across my path, I would always spit 3 times. And Charlie said, what the hell did you do that for, darling? I says, Charlie, you didn't just see that black cat walk across our path? I don't need no luck like that, Charlie. And Charlie said, what do you want to lay that shit on that poor little cat for, Charlie? It's a poor little cat walking around town checking it out. What do you want to lay that shit on him for? Well, that was the last time I ever spat when a black cat walked across my path. I don't spit no more when black cats walk around across my path. No, I smile and think of Rouse. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie Rouse played the sax, the tenor sax. Thank you.
Peter Coca. Thank you, Peter. That was great. Good job. All right. I like it. This is good. Enjoyed your poems too, Anna. That was great. So, well, let's see. I think we'll have some more music now. We have one of our premier muralists in Los Angeles with us tonight. And I'm going to have him come up and play a few tunes. I like it when artists, and you find this with artists, a lot of times they're good painters, and then they're good guitar players, and then they do this, that, and the other thing. So we have with us tonight Eloy Torrez, whose murals you can see all over town. Where's your nearest one from here, Eloy? Have you seen the Anthony Quinn on 3rd and Broadway? It's the guy that painted it. All right, let's give him a big hand.
I think with a little bit of a hold, so, and I'm hoping I can get my lyrics straight here, because I changed a few words on this particular song, and can you hear the guitar? Okay, this one's called Single and Raising Two Kids, and it's based on a conversation I had a few years back with Mona. She used to be in a band called Odd Squad, so after a brief conversation, found out she was single and raising two kids. So it goes something like this. Stella, I see you trying, but nothing is going your way. The kids are crying, life is getting so much harder, single and raising two kids. Julie is growing up so quickly, she'll soon need a new pair of shoes. The bills are due, just need a few dollars more, single and raising two kids. When things go wrong, you're only human, wanting things you just can't have. Your friends all living the better life. Oh, that's how it appears to you. You keep your tears inside. You hide your pride from everyone. No one will ever know all the tears you cried last night. The cards were never in your favor, and no one ever showed you the way. You were so young when you had your first baby, single and raising two kids. When things go wrong, you're only human, wanting things you just can't have. Your friends all live in the better life. Oh, that's how it appears to you. You keep your pride inside. You hide your fears from everyone. No one will ever know all the tears you cried last night. All right. Now, when I don't do this for a while, I get really nervous, so I'm a little tight, a little tight. Okay, thank you. This song is called, what is it called? It Feels Good. And I used to have these, as we all do, these reoccurring dreams of flying. And this particular flight experience was hovering over my grandparents' home in a little pueblito called Punta de Agua, New Mexico. Anyway, it's called Feels Good. Up all night, could not sleep, caught between that space in my mind, soaring higher than I've ever known. Will I come down? Well, I don't know. It feels good. It feels so good, floating just above the trees, and looking down the top of your house. No one seems to notice me. Hey, that's okay, I'm just passing through. It feels good. It feels so good. Just below the clouds, and I can see most everything. Try to catch a second wind that take me even higher, higher than I've ever known, soaring higher than I've ever been, so much higher than I've ever known, floating higher than I've ever been. Just below the clouds, and I can see most everything. Wanna catch a second wind that take me even higher, higher than I've ever known, higher than I've ever been, soaring higher than I've ever known, so much higher than I've ever been. Is that one? One more? We'll do one more? Okay, this is about being back in art school, good old days in art school, and basically the premise of the song is it's about these two people who kind of knew each other, were dating back in art school, and she's become really successful, and she's having all these art shows, and he's kind of looking back with a little bit of jealousy and kind of reminiscing back in the old art school days. It's called Wednesday's Hope. Well, I was just hoping that you were thinking of the same thing that I have on my mind. It gets a little confusing, shuffling papers from the back seat of your car. I still remember the day in December when you walked into the gallery. Lipstick bright yellow, you made such a fuss. I love to paint you with fuchsia hair, with fuchsia hair. And then the sun burst through the dark, thick clouds onto your face. The gloomy morning turned into a bright, sunny day. Something about you reminds me of Frida. She also had lots of pets. Her brushes keep falling, those canvases calling from the back seat of your car. Of your car. And then the sun burst through the dark, thick clouds onto your face. The gloomy morning turned into a bright, sunny day. we're just hoping that you were thinking of the same thing that I have on my mind. It gets a little confusing, shuffling papers from the back seat of your car, of your car. It's a little confusing, shuffling papers from the back seat of your car. Thanks.
All right, Eloy Torrez. Let's give him a big hand. Like that guitar playing. All right. Now I'm going to invite a fellow that, and again, we're talking about artists who can do a lot of different things. This fellow is not only a storyteller, but he's also a well-known punk musician. He tours all over the world and plays all over the world, and we're happy to have him touring right here. He's going to tell us a nice story or two. And let's give a big welcome to Christian Pasquale.
That was awesome. John, what was your name again, sir? Yeah. Loved your music, man. Lovely. Lovely. Great songwriting. I love Anthony Quinn. I grew up with a guy named Chris Negretti who looked just like him when I was a kid. He was half Mexican and half Italian. And he's a dead ringer for Anthony Quinn, so I always considered him like my spiritual friend somehow. You wrote a song about single moms. Can I move it like this? You guys hear me all right? Well, I was raised by two single mothers. My mother and my grandmother raised me, and my sister. And my grandmother belonged to an organization called the PWP. Is anybody familiar with the PWP? You older folks might know about it. It's Parents Without Partners. And it was sort of like a singles group. And my mother and my grandmother belonged to the PWP. And they used to have barbecues every second Saturday of the month at my house. And this is a story about the creepy guys that would come over and hit on my mother and my grandmother. It's called Saturday Night with the PWP. It's an old story, but here we go. Our house was at 2417 East Clark Avenue. Old man's sun would tear slowly down the summer sky over what seemed to be right down the middle of our street. Simmering smells out of the lemon blossoms and the jasmine. I'd sit under shady bushes with the stray cats on the cool dirt and wait for the first arrivals of the PWP party my grandmother was famous for giving every second Saturday of the month. I was 6 years old. Stan was sure to arrive first. He had a mad crush on my mother, so he tried to impress her by going on beer runs and starting the barbecue and such. Stan drove a metallic green El Camino. He was gigantic, about 6'4", and weighed 220 pounds, and his last name was Blood. Stan Blood, of short silver hair, huge forearms and hands that were steel strong and wrinkled and rough. He called me Chris the Great and was always trying to convince me to get a degree, even at 6 years old. He drank Coors tall cans, and when he got tanked, he started hugging and kissing anyone within 3 feet of him, male or female. Your basic textbook lovable drunk and obnoxious to boot. About 6:30 p.m., Bill Rydell would show up, unrushed and ornery as an old gray donkey. He was wrinkled and thin with a big Carl Malden nose. He was a bigwig executive at the Ford Motor Company and drove a beautiful 55 T-Bird convertible, red with white interior. I'd get in and pretend to drive. Bill had been a friend of the family for years. He was my grandmother's boyfriend, more or less, if you can imagine such a thing. He chain smoked, he drank light beer out of a glass, and always had a hard-ass remark for me when I came around asking my mom for money, for example. Get a job, you little puke, what are you, crippled? Or, you eating again, fat ass? Old Bill was as cold and mean as the city of Detroit, which is where he was from, but he had a great car. Next to Slither Up was Dan. Now, I'm not sure what he did for a living, but judging by his looks, he was probably directing or producing porno flicks. He was a real sight. Even for 1978, he looked creepy. He had jet black hair like Wayne Newton and was short with a weaselly face and laughed to match. The tip of his nose appeared to have been ripped off and poorly stitched back on. He had a mouthful of teeth that a priest would find suspicious, and when he pulled his thin, pale lips over them to give you a big rat-faced smile, you thought one thing: pervert. That and the fact that he couldn't use one sentence without the words naked lady in it. For example, this sofa is as soft and comfy as a naked lady, or this beer is as tasty as a naked lady. But when the words naked lady came out of his mouth, you didn't think of a pretty naked woman with shiny hair and airbrushed skin. You thought of a woman of 50 with greasy red hair and a big fat dimply butt, smoking a cigarette and grimacing at you as if to say, come on, fucko, get it over with. To be more specific, Dan reminded you of the type of guy that would end up getting his ass kicked in a place where he'd have no business getting his ass kicked, like a swap meet or church, but nobody would care or try to help him. Real yucky. Next to stumble by was Pat Lee, who was and still is the most consistently drunk and thoroughly obnoxious lush of all time. Imagine Phyllis Diller on Valium and Whiskey Chasers. She was thin and yellow and screeched every word she spoke. Old Bill hated her, but was always civil for the sake of my grandmother, who needed another female to team up with when a drunken political argument would erupt, which was inevitable. The strangest of this motley group were the Herrings, Jack and Mary Herring. Now, what could be so weird about a couple named Jack and Mary, you ask? Well, they were a married couple that joined singles groups like the PWP. Jack was a butcher and weighed 320 pounds easily. He was bald and had a false front tooth that he would remove and fiddle with his tongue in between sentences. His wife was a gin-slurping slut who loved to flirt with Stan or Dan or any man, and hubby Jack would lend a hand, saying, I like it that way, understand? Flickering his eyebrows and fake front tooth. This being the prime barbecue season, Jack decided to provide all the goodies, being a butcher shop manager and all, and he stole a whole pig from the freezer at work for what he called a South Pacific luau picnic, undoubtedly a title he picked out of some cheesy meat buyer's catalog at the shop. So he and Stan started to dig a pit for the sacrificialing, suckling pig of summer. They plowed away at the ground, drunk and sweaty, laughing at some crass remark about really getting things swinging, if you know what I mean. Pounding out dirt frantically, they squealed with excitement like a pair of hyenas burying bones and raw meat in the bloody afternoon sunlight. Long awaited and all too slowly, the evening sky began to stain the sunburned blue day with cool crystal darkness. Inside, stomachs were being cooled with chilled carrot sticks and oysters and lime on ice. The pink brick walls that enclosed our backyard glowed red from the sacrificial suckling pig pit dug in the middle of our lawn. And the palm tree, which had glowed red many times before, being it had been there since my grandparents had bought the place and was now 30 feet tall, lit up like a red lion's mane, looking down, doubting, feeling pity. By this time, my mother had emerged from the bath, the angel that she was, all soapy sweet and softly dressed, blue eyes lighting up the otherwise dismal room, all the men beginning to sweat and stutter at the sight of her, all the women turning in their seats and cursing her fate in their ugly minds, although they all loved what she was in one way or another. Hello, baby sister, said my grandmother, everyone's here. Oh boy, said my mother nervously, almost sarcastically, knowing that she would be at the center of all the men's lust and all the women's envy, not because she had to, but because she wanted to give herself. That's the way she was and still is. sacrificing her sobriety and opening up her heart for people to hide in. Beer caps cracking, bottle caps twisting, liquor spilling into anxious glasses, and uneducated sermons on unimportant matters and loud laughing. Soft light on end tables that always capture the smoke rising off green glass ashtrays so hauntingly. Jack sitting in the middle of my grandmother and his wife on our love rocker next to the raging pit of pig meat outside the window. Stan squeals in repulsive delight as my mother spills a drink on her soft white blouse. Sheer, pure, soft laughter and a leap to her feet to go freshen up, much to Dan's protest. "Oh, wait, baby, we all spill a little sometimes. Just sit down," licking his chops, frantically hoping, wishing, lusting, pig still roasting. Bill is sitting at the coffee table, statue still, cigarette burning in his right hand as he holds his head in his usual jaded manner, trying to wish away Pat, who sits next to him screeching about her mother's chronic hemorrhoid condition. Stan's at the 8-track and he puts on Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. My mother yelps and comes running out of the bathroom with her vodka tonic spilling to the side, sending that much more liquid magic to our constantly stained green carpet. With an oops and a woo, she sways and twitches. Crystal blue eyes, bloodshot red like the still roasting pig out back. She closes them and smiles softly at the thoughts in her vodka tonic mind, dreaming of a better life for all of us. Marvin Gaye's voice seducing her into rhythmic euphoria. She wishes to Marvin to come and save her and sends everybody into lustful stares and immobility. My mother, the drunken dancing angel, smiling for the sake of the miserable and lonely, saving them from hopelessness. "Come on, Christian, dance with me." And we swayed and twirled in the cigarette smoke and soft light. And as she held me against her breast, I smelt the vodka on her blouse and breath and watched her red eyes glow redder from the pig still roasting out back. And the evening stumbled on that way, clock click-clocking, tick-tocking, rick-rocking to the sounds of Marvin Gaye and American Glee glaring through the streets, stifling softer sounds. American Glee and warm summer winds lulled me to sleep to dream of ice cubes and vodka glasses and bicycle poker cards, pig softly roasting outside. Sunday morning sun, the brightest sun of the morning week, peeled me from between soft sheets, hungry, excited, and anxious to play in another Southern California day. I walked into the living room, and the sun showed me what is in my mind the incarnate example of the American nightmare. Drunken, half-naked bodies sprawled across our green-stained magic carpet. Jack, Mary, Bill, Stan, Pat, Dan, lifeless, regretful, I'm sure, so sorry, so stupid, so soft, so sad. The refrigerator door's half open, there's nothing much inside. My little sister's hungry too, so we go outside and pick oranges off our tree and throw the peels at the now charcoal-colored pig in the middle of the lawn. I guess nobody checked it. It died in vain. Just like the American dream died in my mind that sunny summer morning. But I knew that my mother's angel eyes would awake and be white, blue, bright again. And she'd make big breakfast for my sister and me and send us off to play. Our stomachs would be full. Our hearts would always be free, I knew that. American dream or no American dream. Pig or no pig. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. That was great. That was really something great. Enjoyed that. All right. Well, let's see. Now, about 8 months ago, I had a visitor come late at night, a friend of mine, and his brother was going to be playing saxophone in a little club up on Hyperion that I didn't even know was there, a little beer bar. So I went up there with him, and that's when I heard the Fontaines. playing. And so I invited them to come and be in my show. And they were scheduled to be here another time, and something went wrong. They couldn't quite make it. So I'm really happy to have the Fontaines. So let's give them a nice big welcome. They're wonderful musicians.
Hey, we're the Fontaines, and a song called Two Heart Boy.
Little bitty part of me that comes and goes and still believes that I'm the only one you've ever loved. He disappeared like Santa Claus, a fantasy I kept too long. Vanity is shaking up my heart. Ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. Keep on the lights, turn it out. Ooh, ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. No one loves me like I do. I've never been deflated, but I sure was ashamed when I loved a boy who had two hearts. He told her you in Broome up there, she climbed up past my stairs and didn't pay her rent for months. Ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. Keep on the lights, turn it out. Ooh, ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. No one loves me like I do. Ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. Keep on the lights, turn it out. Ooh, ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. No one loves me like I do. 'Cause I keep on the lights, turn it out. Keep on the lights, turn it out. Ooh, ah, keep on the lights, turn it out. No one loves me like I do. And all you do is turn the screw. 'Cause no one loves me like I do. All you do is turn the screw. No one loves me like I do. Thank you very much. I think this next one is called Tracing Paper.
You think so? I'm pretty sure. Hot potato, hot potato.
So you and I were only tracing paper, practicing the love you knew you'd give to her. I guess you always thought that you could do better than me. Well, than me, whoa, because I only make you smile. So what? And you never ever had to try. I knew it wasn't right, 'cause we don't fight, we're so right. We're just too right. Once I'll go off when I wake up, at least I know how. You were lost and I'm not what she's got. But were you losing the now when you stop with the love and the laugh and the kiss and the call? Hey, I was a drill or some other rehearsal. I will pay the bill for all of her refusals. If it was a play, will you be getting paid? I'd be on stage and I'd know what to say. Once I'll golf when I wake up. At least I know how. You are lost, I'm not what she's got. But will you loosen the knot when you stop with the love and the laugh and the kiss and the carve? Tracing paper crumpled by my anger. Oh, you think you're clever now? If you had your way, she'd be in my place. Never have to kiss my face. Oh, oh, oh. Ooh. Oh, oh, oh. Once I'll golf when I wake up. At least I know how. You are lost, and I'm not what she's got. Will you loosen the knot when you stop with the love and the laugh and the kiss and the cough and the fun, the sun, the style, the smile, the love and the laugh and the kiss and the cough? Thank you.
We have some free download cards we'd like to pass around. If you're interested, just take one. You can get our stuff for free.
Beauty beyond repair. I know you think I'm unaware, but I say something's different about the way you smile. Beauty's beyond unfair. I see your honey over there, and I say something's different about the way I smile. 'Cause coasters rolling and it's fun and games. Lips are coasting out of their place. Beauty beyond repair. I know you think I'm unaware, but I say something's different about the way you smile. Beauty's beyond unfair. I see your honey over there, and I say something's different about the way I smile. 'Cause coasters rolling and it's fun and games. Lips are coasting out of their place. Beauty beyond repair. I know you think I'm unaware, but I say something's different about the way you smile. Beauty's beyond unfair. I see your honey over there, and I say something's different about the way I smile. Oh, you got me, yeah, you got me, child. Oh, you got me, yeah, you got me, child. Oh, you got me, yeah, you got me, child. Oh, you got me, child. Beauty beyond repair. I know you think I'm unaware, but I say something's different about the way you smile. Beauty's beyond unfair. I see your honey over there, and I say something's different about the way I smile. The way you smile, 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 the way you smile. Thanks so much for having us. Thank you.
Oh, let's give the Fontaines another nice big hand. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. And we've been happy to have all of you here, and I hope you had a good time tonight. Glad to have all you folks out there listening. And that's our show for tonight. Come back on March the 6th for another Storyphile. We'll be happy to have you. And thanks for coming tonight.